Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible? Sir, shall I wait for some participants to join or shall I start now? Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Oh, Madhurima, now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Sir, am I audible to you?
चुप चुप चुप
I don't think so. No, sir cannot hear me. Can others hear me? I think some issues at his end. Ananya Ghosh, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to our respected director, sir, and also to our respected speaker for today, Dr. Pallavi Sinha Das, ma'am. It's an honor to have you with us. I welcome all of you to another webinar, which is related to gender studies and social studies. On behalf of the Department of Gender Studies and Social Studies, Ashadi Wisdom Campus, Sri Lanka, I, Dr. Madhurima Dasgupta, presently head of the Department of Gender Studies, would like to welcome you to another very pertinent issue which is related to gender studies. So today's speaker, we have Dr. Pallavi Sinha Das. Dr. Pallavi Sinha Das is presently assistant professor from the Department of Political Science, Hingalganj Mahavidyalaya, Kolkata, India. She has also more than 7 years of teaching experience as assistant professor of Department of Political Science and Public Administration at Adamas University, Kolkata. Her objective is to solve problems in an effective manner in a challenging position and to use her skill in all possible way to achieve the company's goals. She has completed her post-graduation diploma in HR management from Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning, a doctorate in public administration from IITA New Delhi, her bachelor's in economics honors from Punjab University, and she also has work experience as assistant as well as associate professor in the School of Liberal Arts and Culture Studies, Adamas University, Kolkata. She has published innumerable papers and has also participated in various workshops and organized various programs as conveners in the college and the university. She has also chaired several sessions as session chair in different national and international conferences and has also been invited as resource person or guest speaker in different universities and colleges. She has supervised various PhD thesis which has already been awarded. And she also has a copyright in her name, which is entitled Tourism Prospects and Challenges in Kamarpukur, West Bengal, India. She's also a member of academic associations and also has other academic achievements. So with this, I would like to welcome our guest speaker for today, who will enlighten all of us on the issue entitled Aspects of Value Education and Women Empowerment. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madhurima. Thanks, Ashadi Campus, Sri Lanka, for inviting this prestigious webinar and letting me present my ideas on women empowerment and the relevance of the role of value education and how does it works vice versa. So, Madhurima is a very old friend as well as we had been colleagues together in Adamas University for a very long time. It's nice to see you here, Madhurima, after such a long time. And I hope so you're doing good. So, starting with the topic, aspects of value education and its impact on women empowerment. How does this topic hold the relevance in the present scenario or in the society we are living in? Why particularly I have chosen this topic where we have various things related to women empowerment or related to gender in terms of economics, in terms of social development, in some terms of political development. But while I was approached by Madhurima to deliver a lecture, I had gone through the various webinar series of Ashadi Wisdom Campus Sri Lanka, and I've seen that mostly the social, economic, political aspects has been touched by various speakers, which those who have delivered lecture. But and then I realized that value education is something which holds the most prior and pivotal importance in the empowerment, because until unless we emphasize on value education, the other aspects are not going to serve the purpose. So that's why I have taken this aspect or these prospects on how women empowerment or how in general it would help the other social or societal things in the present scenario. So, coming down, we first need to understand what is value or what is value education. So, anything, if I talk in layman language, anything which help us to distinguish between good and bad is certainly a women value education, a, a empowerment which help us to distinguish what is right but what is wrong, a wisdom which help us to determine between the correct and wrong, and an aspect where before taking a decision or before doing an act, we actually analyze the outcome. So this is something which we get it, or we are not born with it, but we gradually gain it in the process of growing up. And if I divide it into the aspects, the types of values we need to have, that is cultural values, personal values, human values, and social values. So these are the set of values which in together make a complete person, where we need to have social basic universal values, that is human values, which we need to have because we are born as a human and we need to respect the other human as at the same point of time. Then we need to have certain social values, that is also very important because we live in a society where it hold a impact of each and every individual on each and every individual. Like I will be affecting the various individuals in the society. Some other XYZ individual will be affecting other individuals in the society. So that is where the social values hold important. How we behave, how we act, or how we perform any particular job in the society. And then the cultural values, the society we are born into, the culture we have to carry, be it the family culture, be it the institutional culture we are working into, and various other things. And lastly, the personal values, how I personally want to be treated and how in return I am treating the other person. So personal values maybe as simple as saying thank you and sorry, which we learned right from the childhood, or it can be as complicated as helping an orphan or helping an old age unknown person on a road. It varies with the time, with the space, with the society, and also the definition of value varies from place to place and time to time. What we call value presently might not be value, say 20 or 50 years back. It could be a daily practice, like with the generation, we are millennials generation. alpha generation, beta generation, Gen Z, various generations which we are divided into. So their values, norms, definition of values is varied through over a period of time. And that how it is being affecting the people, the society, and changing the definition of cultural, personal, human, and social values, where we are not only answerable to the society, but to the family and to the individuals. We share the space at home or at workplace or in the society. Now, we all know that globalization is something which is inevitable. We just cannot deny the fact that uh, we are in the globalized world and fast moving towards the modernization, changing the way, changing the aspects we are living into and we are living with. Now, this change has a very thin line. We need to differentiate somewhere that where we need to stop with certain ideas where we need to carry forward. So the the understanding of accepting the fact that we need to get modernized but not westernized or take up some other uh, form of modernization, we need to understand that where we are losing our own cultural and moral values and diverting to something which is not actually required in the society. So when we talk about women and when we try to interlink or interrelate it with value education. So it is something that women constitute a very integral part of society and culture. And but they are, in spite of this, they are being underestimated or you can say discriminated or sidelined in different forms and different aspects in the society. So many a times what happens that though they are the biggest contributors in the society, still they are being sidelined, still they are being treated as the second gender in the society. So which is characterized or which is supported by the tradition of sex discrimination, social stratification, or which has a great support of patriarchal system, which we follow almost across the globe. So the Indian women actually occupy uh, a subordinate place at times in the society at different occasions. So the status of women is the key indicator where we determine the progress of society as well as the progress of the country, where we are talking about the various um, social, economic, political development and aspects. But actually, we need to measure it on the scale of how far the women are developed in that particular country, how far the women are secured in that country. Now, in maximum societies, women had been considered naturally unsuited for various activities and they were formally or informally excluded from the particular type of work, due to which the social cultural norms of Indian society and gender mindset and discrimination has been internalized to an extent where the self image is partially determined by the fact that we are two different set of people, that is male or female. And in this generalized, genderized, I would say, Indian society, women should be empowered and need to follow their role models and become worthy of emulation. So the consciousness of right and wrong, good and evil is called moral value. The concept of good differs from person to person. It differs from society to society and it varies from time to time at the same time. But the good considered from moral point of view is regarded as the highest good It is education which can make people understand the nature of highest good. And structurally, pedagogically, philosophically, educational institutes need to play a very effective role in development of new cultural ethos that can contribute to the realization of the goals of comprehensive development of human material. So this requires the educational institution internalize the concern for equality of women, which is done through women's studies and with the main aim of value-based education. So it is not only empowering the women through women's studies or various studies, but also keeping in mind that value education should be the, the main backbone of that education which is being provided to the generation. Now, when we talk about value education, which is inspired and has kindled the quest among the student by means of one's own example of character and mastery of knowledge. So it is by embodying values within ourselves that we can really radiate values to our students. Value-oriented education should not be considered concerned as an intervention of series of do's and don'ts. It should be purely individualistic inner conception of mind, and value is an individualistic idea. So it should be inculcated from, say, within the people, which should empower them socially, politically, economically, morally, and empowerment has to come from within, and it's not something which can be given. So when we nurture a particular child in a way that it all the education is given with the base of morality, so automatically all the aspects of social, economic, political thing gets empowered in the society. So when we talk about women in Indian society, so in an historical aspects, there were lot of atrocities against them, where they faced child marriages, where they faced female feticide, where they faced sati pratha, where they have there was no education for them, and they were behind the closed door, having no identity in the society. Though they were the main contributors to the society, but still their identification or the recognition to their work wasn't there. So in that comparison, they tried to come out in the society, and it started right from the period of Indian freedom struggle, where Mahatma Gandhi has included women in the freedom struggle, where he has highlighted the fact that when a man is educated, only a single person gets educated, but when a woman is educated, the whole family gets educated. And he brought them in the mainstream, and he emphasized on the, or you can say he recognized the importance of women in the political struggle, in the political freedom struggle of the country. Later on, the women have achieved for themselves right in the beginning of 1947, when India got freedom. The Indian women has received the right to vote, which was in comparison to other part of the world much earlier, because in the other part of the world where we talk about the most advanced countries in UK, US, Russia, the all in all these part of the world, the women have received right to vote much later than their freedom. But in India, the right to vote was achieved by the women right from the time India has got its freedom. So when we say that they have got all the favorable legislation rights, they had got all the political rights on papers, but later on they realized that the winning of this thing is just a winning of a hollow fortress. Why? because the social structure had largely remained unchanged in spite of all these political benefits, political structures provided to them. So they have got the right to contest election just after independence of India, and women were also elected in the parliament election in 1952. But the number of women in governmental ministerial level has not increased at the desirable amount as it should be. And government has received various political rights. Later in India, they had been increasing in the governmental ministerial level in the country. But the issue of women empowerment arises because of the stark reality that women are still marginalized, they're still marginalized and sidelined from the mainstream as a disposable commodity in the society. The patriarchal canopy had always denied women the warm rays of autonomy and freedom. The indeclinable gender bias has disfigured the face of humanity, and this discrimination originates well before the birth of the girl and is sustained right through her womanhood. And India as a nation whose nationhood is equated with Mother India, image of Bharat Mata, and India is also a country having agriculture economy where the land is main source, sustenance is associated with women in the form of bhumi. And it is ironical that in spite of these symbolical attribution, women in India are still viewed as a second sex in the society. So, what can be done? How the change is to be brought into? So, it has to be done through education in the society. And education is intimately connected with life. Human life is reflected in the system of education. Again, education becomes complete and meaningful in and through the experiences of life. So, if you think that we are in the classroom going through set of books and we have completed the all gaining all the knowledge in the society, no, only when it is accompanied with the experiences of life, then only the full circle of knowledge and education gets complete. So every society should promote the educational and economic interest with special care and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. The ultimate aim of education is the integral development of human personality, and education must look at the spiritual development of man, enlargement of his soul. So the Indian society is now shattered due to all the over materialistic characters of materialistic character of education, and at present the trend of entire human society is completely materialistic. So the results are disastrous, as we can see in the current society, and human peace is disturbed. So values are eroding away fast, and the youths are in dire necessity of an ideology by which they can initiate the initiate the whole process of education and value education in the human life, so that the life become more meaningful. So the main purpose of any system of education should be to perpetuate the process of development of the individual as well as the society, and the curriculum should include those subjects which can facilitate both the process of development, and it must reflect both individual and social needs in the. So there should be any there should be any condition. No, there should not be any condition for discrimination or disparity among the members of society, and gender disparities can be bridged by distributive justice to reduce inequalities in resources and power amongst the most powerless and the most powerful people in the society. Also, women's subordination to men due to class, caste, religious laws, rituals, prevalent social values, and kinship and relationship within family constitute an additional reason of gender disparity. So these all are the things which are actually causing the problem in the society, where we can see rise in the number of um, educational institution, but lowering down in the cases of human. Where can we can see the humans are holding more and more educational degrees, but they are not at all social and human from within. We can see that we are more and more economical empowered, but we do not know how to adjust and accept the facts in the society. So this is because of the gap between the education and actual practice in the society, which needs to be linked with value. And since India has decided to make itself a democratic republic, the Indian should be trained to uphold the practice, the values of democratic social order. And this can be possible only when the qualities of discipline, tolerance, understanding, respect, patriotism, cooperation, etc. All these are inculcated and developed in the students in their very young age with the influence of different religious and spiritual leaders, which have been giving great emphasis on human values. And it is confirmed that any sort of education should be based on value. So, India has a long history of various spiritual and various philosophical leaders, those who have actually contributed for the empowerment and development of the women in this society. So we have Vidya Sagar, we have Rajaram Mohan Roy, we have Jyotibai Phule. So there are various leaders whom we all know, those who have contributed in the value upgradation of the women's life. Now, the most important need of the day is pervasive concern for man as man and not as a cup cut into caste, sex, communities, and the formulation of this action of the same from the rational ethics and morality. So, individual constitute society which has certain ideals about, say, behavior, conduct, duties, and responsibilities towards one another, and love, universal brotherhood, sincerity, honesty, and integrity of the character, firm attitude of rendering help and performing actions, and works for general benefit are some of the constituents of healthy, value laden social life. So, true education aims at developing individuals into social beings having all these values. And value based education is the only vehicle for achieving the proper knowledge and understanding about the rights of women and their problems. So, education is not simply about jobs, education is also not about access to new knowledge, information, and ideas, as well as the capacity to use these knowledge effectively, whereas these are enhancement of the capabilities that individual bring to their goals in the many areas of life aside from the labor market or aside from working for the capitalist market in the society. Now, at the same time, there are also lessons to learn from studies that suggest the reverse, which is unpacking these different outcomes to look at underlying causes, draws attention to the social relationships through which they were brought about. So the gender conception explores the social cultural construction of gender as fundamental basis of social relation and institutions. The guiding intellectuals mission of the concentration is to consider the intersection of gender, race, ethnicity, social class, age, disability, sexuality, and in transnational and historical context. So we need to link various aspects into a transnational thing, and then education, culture, communication, information obviously plan an important part in all these. So it's not just the male and female we are talking about. We are talking about various aspects, rise from gender, race, ethnicity, social class, age, disability, sexuality, and we are talking in a transnational manner, so that it is very important for all these informations to come together so that a value-laden education can be given to the students. It's not partial, it's not one-sided. Uh, as in, just to quote in between, Assam has, in India, Assam has become the first state to include disability language as one of their optional language. Why? Because they wanted to give the people, those who communicate with sign language, a main stage, make them feel that they are part of the society. So, will you not accept it, or will you not consider it as a value education, as a initiative of a value education where we actually value each and every individual in this society? We are not discriminating any person on basis of any disability, right? So now school, textbooks, teachers, parents' attitude, music, video industries, the mass media, including internet, all of these have an impact on individual and are by and large prominent in pertaining sexist stereotype in particularly all societies today. So we all accept that we are highly influenced or commercialized by the various social media we are going through in everyday life, and consolidated approach with proper analytical study is necessary to deal with all these root cause problems, where our acts are actually commercialized through various social media platforms. So there also we need to be educated enough. We just cannot segregate social media or internet from our society, that we just cannot shut down our system from all these things, but we need to have those values that where we need to select and where we need to stop, or where we need to control ourselves. So that is also very important. Now, during last 2 decades, women education have increased significantly, which had further accelerated the increasing proportion of women in various service sectors. But now the question arises that how far these service sectors are safe enough, and how far these service sector actually provide an equal platform for the women to work with their equal caliber. So that is something which needs to be understood, and especially the pressure is on the middle class and lower middle class women, those who are involved in both traditional roles, the social roles, and are actually trying to achieve their expectations with their life and achieve their ambition and everything. So they are in conflict with the family, with the social values, and with their ambition. So here is something where value education or value education expect is required, so that the family, say parents, say your life partner, or say society, or on in general, you can say the colleagues at your workplace support you, so that the conflict of double role or dual role playing in the family and the society and the workplace, the conflict can be minimized for the women, and it can be eased for them to achieve their various goals. Now, when we talk about women empowerment and value education in context of India specifically, one of the recommendation of national policy on education in 1986 by the government of India is to promote empowerment of women through the Agency of Education, and it is considered to be a landmark in approach of women's education. So, determining uh, in recent years, the empowerment of women has been recognized as a central issue in India in determining the status of women. And since independence, the government of India has been concentrated on the efforts towards women empowerment by removing gender biasness, so that women enjoy equal status in the society. In spite of all the provision of the Constitution of India, efforts have been made by different conventions and convents and laws in different countries of the world, where women are still subjugating in different forms. So, knowingly or unknowingly, this problem is happening in spite of the laws various countries have passed. So, there also, this gap can only be fulfilled by the value education thing. The value education is going to work as a buffer zone between for the gap between the women empowerment and the various laws and the provisions and everything. Madhurima, how much time I have?
You can 5 minutes or
I will not go into further things. I I would just highlight few of the initiatives which Indian government has actually taken for the value education system through the education integrated education thing, where we have Mudliar Commission, which was in 1952 and 53, where the training of character and personality was emphasized on. Realization of full potentials, especially for women, was emphasized on. Contribution to well-being of the community and interactive approach to the moral instructions were taken into consideration. Then we had Kothari Commission in 1964-66, where education and national development and direct moral instructions were given, not only at the educational level, but also which was to be followed at the workplace. Then we had National Policy for Education in 1986, where they have expressed concern over the erosion of essential values, education for cultivation of social and moral values. Then we had SB Chavan Committee report in 99, where they resumed the work on value orientation of education. And then we had NCRT report in 2005, where they reaffirm our commitment to values in curriculum and emphasize education for peace. So, to establish a new world order of compassion, peace, justice, and security, it has become very essential that mankind free itself from the limitations of caste, class, race, nationalism, prejudice, and acknowledge that the forces that unite it are incomparably more powerful than those that divide it. So, education will help to resist exploitation, besides, of course, empowering them to be self dependent. And women literacy is very essential for vitality, liberty, and education not only increases women's awareness about their rights and capabilities, but an educated and self-sufficient women will be able to take decisions relating to various aspects of her life and family members' life as well. So women will be able to plan active role in the process of national development only when equal opportunities are provided to them. And moral and educational empowerment uh, will imply to overcome the restriction and constraints imposed by customs, beliefs, practices on women, and it can be attained only through meeting their needs and interests. As women are responsible for fostering well-being in families, in return, we are responsible to women throughout their lives to help them in live a life of peace, respect, prosperity as daughters, mothers, wives, friends, sisters, so that there is a global prosperity and integration. We need to develop moral values in our generation at the very formative stage of their life so that they turn into outstanding citizens in all walks of life and throughout the country. So, at last, I would like to say that only education in school, only education at the materialistic level is not at all going to help us come out of this evil in the society. But what we need to do is we need to develop certain values and which needs to be imbibed in an individual right from the early childhood, and that has to come from family, that has to come from educational institute, that has to come from everyone in the society, so that we first learn to respect each and every human. Uh, Respecting as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend, as a colleague, it is completely at the second level. First, we need to respect each and every human. Once we do that, automatically we are going to consciously, subconsciously, we are going to respect the women as in gender and as an equal individual in the society. So that's it. What I wanted to say, that how important value education is for empowering women, and how the government has been trying to inculcate it in the various curriculum and education process. But it's a collective responsibility of each and individual in the society that we carry it forward as a legacy, and we preserve all the cultural values and norms in the society. Like a very traditional saying that when a fruit is rotten, we throw it away, but from that rotten fruit, a fresh plant comes out. So the values should be like that fresh plant, that with every generational change in the society, or with every time change or requirement of the time, that a fresh value should come to support not only women but all the gender section and subsection of the society.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such an insightful, detailed analysis. It was really enriching and enlightening. Any question from our student? Anyone has any observation, any experience would like to share with the speaker? You can unmute yourself or you can write in the chat box.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, actually, ma'am. I wanted to ask that you were saying that this value education is important for the empowerment of women. So, ma'am, do you really think this value education actually like speaks about respecting women? Like we have read moral science in our earlier days, but mostly there was written that we should respect our elders and all that. But like no para is mentioned that we should respect. Like for example, whenever we talk, like in sociology also, they always talk that we should educate the men so that they respect our women, their sisters and their mothers. But ma'am, is that actually happening? Like no, men is actually being taught to respect women, I think. So ma'am, what is that?
I don't think so that you need to be only taught to respect women. I'm talking about the complete morality thing. When you have a respect for a human being, you are automatically going to respect a woman. When you have a respect for an elder, you are automatically going to respect your mother, your elder sister, or your friend, or your seniors in the society. First, you need to understand, or on any XYZ individual need to understand that we all coexist in the society in the equal space. The very differentiation we are doing is calling them men needs to learn to respect women, and women need to learn to respect men. Is it so that each and are we respecting each other? Like suppose we are all 10 women in a room, that all those 10 women are respecting each other. Would you say yes confidently?
No, I guess because sometimes so
Right.
like if
So when we ourselves are not sure about that all the women are respecting each and everyone, so how can we expect that men has to respect women and then women are going to respect men? Each and every individual has to do that, and that will come right from the early age. That will come right from the family, right in the nursery class, where we do not make the point that you have to respect your father first and then your mother. You need to respect your parents. That has to be the point. That is the point of value education. We are not talking about only respecting women. We are talking about inculcating values which will automatically solve half of the problems in the society, or I would say 90% of the problems.
yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I don't think so there will be any more questions. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. My sincere gratitude to our respected speaker for today, Professor Dr. Pallavi Sinha Das-Man, who took out her valuable time to enlighten all of us on the significance of value education, how morality, values and norms are important in our everyday life, which we inculcate from our upbringing, from our socialization or gender socialization, and how we carry forward and how it produces an impact on women empowerment. Now, when we look into the future, what the future holds is how, AI is playing an important role in shaping that value education. What role will AI have? Because AI is dominating our everyday life, so what role will AI play in this value education? But it will be difficult for AI to replace any kind of values, any norms, because these values and norms are inherent and we inherited from our family and from other agencies as we grew up. So my sincere gratitude to ma'am and also to our respected director, sir, Professor Dr. Avindu Sanayak from Ashadi Wisdom Campus, Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, sir. Without your guidance and support, this webinar would not have been possible. And definitely to all my beloved students, those who joined for this webinar, thank you very much, ma'am. We look forward to future sessions with you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.